Hi, I'm Mitch, and thank you for joining us today on the Restoration Road, where my guest is my good friend and mentor, Duane DuCharme. Several years ago, we filmed 2 episodes with Duane as he shared his life story that is absolutely incredible. I asked Duane to come back and sit down with us and recap that story, but also see what God has done in his life since. And it is amazing. You will not want to miss this time with Duane DuCharme. Duane, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me, Mitch. It's always a pleasure to be around you.
Oh, thank you for everything you do with us, the way you host all the guests and keep us all organized. It's just been phenomenal.
I got the best job in town when I'm here.
I'd like to recap your story. We aired it and it's fascinating, and I encourage everybody to go back and look at our website and watch those 2 shows. But I want to summarize your journey. You grew up in Hicksville, Ohio, and you were an ace pitcher, literally. An ace pitcher.
Yeah.
Went to the state championship, but you had some strain in your heart from your family relationships. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, that's my father. Father deserted us when I was a 4-year-old and then came back into my life when I think I was 11 or 12 years old and remarried my mother. And I thought I was going to have a father. The kids made fun of me, basically, for not having a father back in that era, that divorce was basically unacceptable, socially unacceptable. But so when Dad came back, I thought, wow, I'm going to have a real father. Well, he quickly turned out to be the town alcoholic and spent most of his evenings out in bars looking for a mistress to spend the night or the weekend with. And it took its toll on me. And Dad, even though he lived either with us at that time or after he moved out, he never attended one of my baseball games or football games or never asked me how I played or how I did or anything. It was just, I just felt a lot of rejection and unloved.
So I think you probably can't articulate it fully at the time, but there's something inside you that you don't ever want to be vulnerable to anybody because of that. Is that right?
Oh gosh, yeah, Mitch. When you get hurt like that, I think what I did is I built a silo around me because it hurt so much, and the pain and the shame and the guilt over my father and everything. I just didn't want anybody inside me and just really know how vulnerable and hurting that I was.
So what did you do after high school?
Well, I quit high school my senior year and went into the service and then came out and was basically a vagabond. I gambled and shot pool, played cards, and did everything I could to make a living. And being a high school dropout, I couldn't get any meaningful jobs, so I had to take what I could get.
I can't fathom that was you. That's almost beyond my comprehension.
Yeah, long hair too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you still got great hair.
Yeah, I said long hair, not gray.
I said great. So what gets your attention to head a different direction from that lifestyle?
Well, I think my son was about a 5-year-old and came home from school one day and said, "Hey, Dad, we got show and tell tomorrow. I got to go tell the kids what you do. Tell me." And I said, "Whoops." So,
That's almost like God's sense of humor.
oh, it is. So I had a choice to either send him to school with a deck of cards and a pool stick, or anyhow, it gave me a reality check that I said, "Hey, I've got to get my life together and start doing something meaningful." It was a God check at that time.
So what did you do?
I found a job in the assessor's office in Fort Wayne and started working there as a clerk and working in personal property at that time and some of the real estate. But it was a great education.
And while you're there, I think you recognized a need that you thought could be met by private enterprise. What was that?
Well, I was very, very lucky, but I quickly saw that there were a lot of mistakes being made. In those days, it was all manual, all by hand and everything. Today, it's very sophisticated and computerized and everything, but there were a lot of human errors being made and excess taxes being paid, nobody doing anything about it. So I just saw an opportunity to form a company and start working for people and cutting their real estate taxes at that time.
And did you call it DuCharme McMillan right out of the gate, or?
It was DuCharme Associates originally for about a year, and then John McMillan joined me, and we changed the name.
Now, this is an amazing success story. The business just explodes.
Well, we had a 23-year run and annual increases. We never had a down year. We just continue to expand on gross and net income.
Offices in
26 cities across the country, all the major cities you think of, one in Toronto, 325 employees.
And did you travel to all those cities?
All the time. I was on the road almost nonstop, and plus doing corporate sales, to Fortune 500 companies. So I was going an awful lot.
How does it lead to a suitor coming to you to want to buy the company?
Well, we were in competition with a lot of at that time, the big 8 companies, and there were quite a few people interested in buying us.
Did you turn them down, and then the price got high enough you decided to say yes, or what?
Well, some of that, I think, worked into it, Mitch, but we decided, my partner John at that time, we decided that, hey, the people that worked with us at that time helped us get us where we were at, and we should give them the opportunity to take it instead of another company. So we did an ESOP with all the employees.
No kidding.
Yes.
What year would that have been?
1994.
So that's kind of early for those.
Yeah, we were the pioneers in it back at that time.
Oh, that's terrific. Now, you made a lot of money,
right?
And you could have gone to the beach and hung out and just stopped, but you didn't. What did you do next?
I got antsy after about 4 or 5 weeks and decided I want to get back into the business game. And I was driven by my insecurity to make more money, because the more money I made, the bigger my check account or savings account, and therefore the better my self-esteem. So it drove me back into the business game to look for a bigger pot of gold. It really turned into a obsession, like an addiction, and an addiction, like anything, or any addiction, it needs fed. Mm-hmm. And I need to feed it with money. So I went out and started buying companies, investing in real estate and oil wells and all kinds of stuff.
This pursuit takes you to real estate in Florida. Can you describe what those ventures were like?
Yeah, got into the Naples real estate way back in 1983 or 84 originally, but then as we continued to make more income, we had more money to invest, and I really got into it heavily, especially after I sold the business. And then I invested heavily in the Naples real estate market there in the mid-90s, and really hit another Grand Slam home run, or hit the lottery again, only this time much bigger in mm-hmm. 2005.
Mm-hmm. And did you buy and sell a marina?
Yes, yeah. Bought a marina assembled 3 pieces for about $3 million and sold it for $54 million.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was a dream, Mitch, and very lucky. I mean, timing, everything was just very lucky.
So really, I mean, at this time, you're one of the wealthiest men in the United States. You have private aircraft. You have the biggest homes on the beach in Naples. You lived in Casey Key, but you kept pursuing, and you started to leverage yourself to borrow money to continue to do bigger deals, is it?
Right, yeah.
So where did that lead you?
Well, first off, when you talk about I had everything but happiness. And it's the toys and the money and the wealth and the prestige and the notoriety. It was meaningless, because inside I wasn't happy. But where it led me was back into the real estate game. Like I said, heavy investments, sold the marina, sold some other property, and cashed out, and then decided that it wasn't enough. It was my low self-esteem, my drive for, and my insecurity, and so I got back into it, reinvested everything, went out and leveraged everything I could, and I thought I was going to be a billionaire before it was over with, and that's what I really hoped. My pride, my ego was in full swing.
And then we had a financial crisis.
Yes. Yeah.
And banks were in trouble, needed to call notes.
Yes.
And they come to you and they want payment on their notes. And you don't have the liquidity or the cash to pay them back.
Right. Yeah, I was very heavily invested in Florida real estate, and amongst other things, but primarily Florida real estate. And when the real estate fell apart in the subprime crisis, the bank started going under too. And of course, I still had some liquidity, but you go into a bank, say, "Yeah, I got real estate." They just say, "Get out of here." So I was out of cash, out of liquidity.
Now, parallel with this, you have a business. Is it a nonprofit where you had a medical uh, uh, delivery business?
Yes.
Can you share the story of what was transpiring there, unknown to you at the time?
Well, yeah, I had what we call a donor recovery business, and we made biological implants for surgical procedures, and sold the biological implants to orthopedic surgeons around the country. And all through this time that I didn't realize that we had a drug ring going on in our business, and neither my wife or I knew it. It was going on for almost 3 years. And they were buying and selling drugs, and as they'd ship out these biologic parts, they'd have tags on the shipment boxes that say, human components or something. Well, nobody's going to open up and look at them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on dry ice. Well, they put the drugs in the bottom, send it out, and get cash back that way. And it was right underneath our noses, and never knew it.
So I imagine the FBI is looking into that. You don't know it, and it leads to them starting to take a look at you.
Right.
What happened next?
Well, I didn't realize, but they had me under surveillance for almost 2 years. And when I had my financial downfall, the COO that was running my business there and doing the drug ring that I had no knowledge of, he owed me a lot of money. I'd given him equity in an Indianapolis office building and some other business we've had, and gave him some cash too. And so I went to him and said, I need repaid. I'm out of money. I got payroll coming. He said, oh yeah. He said, I can repay you. He says, the only problem is it's all cash. It's drug money. And I said, I don't care where you get it from, just get it. I was so desperate, Mitch, so desperate.
So you meet at a storage unit, and he gives you a container, and what happened after that?
Well, we drove off in separate cars, and I went to a shopping center, stopped at I forget, one of the office supply companies to get something, and came back out and was standing there next to my car, and I think it was 5 or 6 cars, I can't remember, pulled up and blocked me in, and red lights flashing, and 8 agents from the Drug Enforcement Agency and U.S. Marshals got out of the car and said, you're under arrest.
And you're taken to jail?
Yes, immediately.
How long are you in there?
I was taken to a federal prison just north of Dallas, and mugshot taken and fingerprinted, and I had a suit and tie on, and they quickly put me in a pair of coveralls, and it was very humiliating, but something I'll never forget. But anyway, I was in there 23 days, waiting to get sprung.
And I think along that time period, about midway through, might be 15 days in, Larry Lance comes to see you from Youth for Christ. Actually came to Texas to see you.
Yeah.
What happened then?
Nobody showed up. Nobody posted bond. Nobody came except Larry. And reality started to set in, and I finally realized that I was powerless. I was scared, and I was alone. And I fell on the floor of the jail, and I remember just weeping. I mean, just weeping, not crying, but weeping, and just said, I can't do this, Jesus, please forgive me. And I gave my life to him then, Mitch.
And up to that point, you would say you were a fan of God.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah.
Do all those great things.
It all looked good. Yeah. The philanthropist, and went to church and did all the good-looking stuff that people would say, wow, that guy's really got it all together and really loves Jesus.
But that was the day you fully surrendered.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And then, so you're seeing it as full surrender, and you talk with Larry, and when Larry leaves and you're passing each other, I think, through a glass wall, but you can see through it, and you both do something.
Yes, he's walking out, and I'm walking back into the cell area, and for some reason, I don't know why, I just turned around, looked at him, and I went like that, which means I surrender. Yes, universal. He was doing the same thing. Wow. I'll never forget it. We just smiled at each other, and
how long are you in prison, and how do you get out, and how does this whole thing come to a conclusion for you?
I was in prison 23 days total, Mitch, and my best friend is the one that bailed me out and paid for the attorney, and the attorney came in and told me I was looking at 8 to 20 years in federal prison for money laundering, which scared the dickens out of me. And I came home to Fort Wayne shaken, scared, it was a rough time in my life. But ultimately, got my sentencing and got 6 months probation and 100 hours community service and 60 days house arrest, and then halfway into the sentencing, it was commuted for good behavior by a judge, and I always say, well, I'm a convicted felon, pardoned by a judge for good behavior, but now I'm a convicted follower of Christ, pardoned by Jesus for my bad behavior.
Oh my goodness. How did you come up with that? That's outstanding. That is outstanding. You went through a period of where you said people socially didn't want anything to do with you because it was in all the papers, it was on all the newscasts. How did you work through that?
It took time, and because I was full of guilt, shame, and disgust over myself. And I remember going to like the grocery store, and if I'd see somebody, I'd turn around, and go back out to my car, and go someplace else. But it just took time. Healing. You don't get healed like flipping a light switch on or off. You got to transition through it. But the way I got through it was praying through it with Jesus and having a lot of great people come beside me, come along beside me, and accept me for the broken person that I was.
Amen. Wow. Well, you end up losing virtually everything.
Yes, sir.
And Rick Hawks approaches you when nobody was really approaching you.
Yeah.
And said, I have this idea for you, and it's called Celebrate Recovery. And you probably weren't interested.
But we're sitting there talking, and he mentioned Celebrate Recovery, and he said everything. I said, well, I never heard of it. And he talked to me about it, and I said, oh, that sounds great, Rick. I said, I'll next time you meet, I'll maybe think about coming. He said, well, we're meeting tonight. He said, why don't you meet me here about 10 minutes till 7? I'll take you to the meeting. Now, I've been in corporate sales most of my life, but boy, I tell you, I got closed. I didn't have a chance.
What'd you think of that first meeting?
Oh, I didn't think I need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, why me? And I thought I'm not one of those people. And I sat there, and Rick was there, so I couldn't leave.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when we finished up, and then Rick, I told Rick, he talked to me about it, and he said, why don't you keep coming back? And I said, all right. I said, I promise you I'll come back 3 more weeks. And so we parted, and I came back the next week, and same thing, was in complete denial. I said, I don't know why I'm here. In fact, I almost got up and walked out. I came real close to it. I just said, I don't need this. But I stuck around, and I came back the 3rd week and then heard a personal testimony that for some reason, it's like God put him there, and it just resonated with me, and I started to realize that I'm a mess, and I need a lot of help, and it's help that only Jesus and Celebrate Recovery can give me.
Well, how does it come up that they want you to lead it?
Well,
Rick does the assumptive close again?
Yeah, he kind of did that too, because I remember him telling me sometime after that, and I was thanking him for it, and I said, how can I help you? And he said, well, just find a leadership role here in the church and get busy. And it was about 3 months later, he came to me, and the ministry at that time said, we'd like you to lead the ministry here for Celebrate Recovery at the chapel. So there I was, a guy that didn't want to do any of it, didn't even want to be there, and there I am leading the ministry with 140 or 50 people coming.
And the stories that come out of there are just amazing.
Yes.
And somebody in Celebrate Recovery National gets wind of this guy in Fort Wayne, and you end up being a state director.
Yeah, state representative.
State representative for Celebrate Recovery.
Yes, sir.
And you start planning other Celebrate Recovery meetings.
Right. And helping. There were some existing meetings too, Mitch, and helped to supplement them, and work with them in terms of trying to enhance the ministries, and then starting new ministries. I'm doing a lot of training and speaking, giving my testimony, and then speaking in churches, and sometimes talking about secret sins that we have. And it's been a great journey.
Well, what kind of stories have you witnessed?
Well, I've had a front row seat to watching God do His miracles, and there's so many of them. And well, one thing, they're not all success stories. I mean, we're human beings, but there's some powerful stories, Mitch, and a few of them I can relate to without giving names and everything. Is one prominent businessmen who led a company of over 3,000 employees and everything had an issue with infidelity. And beautiful family and everything. And for your listeners too, these people aren't necessarily in Fort Wayne. They could be any
Right.
place here in Indiana.
Right.
So, but this individual was right on the brink of losing. He had a prominent place in the church, and he lost that and everything. But he did the right thing. He humbled himself and he owned it. And that's the first thing you got to do is to deal with something. You got to get out of denial and admit that, hey, I got a problem. That problem's me. And he was the poster child for recovery. I'd say he did everything right, and ultimately ended up getting his whole family back, all of his children, and today I can tell you they're probably closer and better than they've ever been. And he turned around then for the last 3 years has been leading men's groups and helping these same individuals, being mentors or sponsors for other individuals that had infidelity problems. So it's like a pyramiding effect that's happened there.
I think it's God's idea, whatever we've been through, and he knows we're going to sin, but whatever we've been through, he wants to use us to help other people who might be going through something similar to find that same restoration.
Yeah, Rick Warren says it best, I think. He says he takes our messes and make messages out of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah. One lady that had a severe alcoholism problem, and about like me, really resisted, getting into recovery and everything. Ended up going through one of the step studies, and ultimately, Mitch ended up being a ministry leader for a lot of the halfway houses in Allen County, in Fort Wayne area, and ministered to 5 different groups, I think it was, and ended up bringing 21 women to Jesus. And I think there was like 30 of them that she got baptized.
Incredible.
Unbelievable, really.
Man, I just want to sit here and say, tell me another one.
Oh, I've got more.
You do? I want to hear another one.
Yeah, another man that I knew was a leader of an organization and got discharged from 2 jobs because of internet pornography. And he was another one of those that lost his wife, lost his family. His whole career was coming apart and everything. But he came to Celebrate Recovery, worked the program, and it ended up being one of the teachers, the trainers, that helped train a lot of other people, and he's now leading a ministry of I think around 170 people that show up, and
my goodness.
It's just amazing, Mitch. It's just amazing. Really.
It's really what God has in mind for the church. I believe it's more the Celebrate Recovery environment is more of a hospital for sinners, not a haven for saints.
Amen.
And I think that's God's idea for what happens when we're together as we worship him, that there is an opportunity for transparency and being able to say, look, I fell short here, and having somebody full of grace and truth on the other side, being able to help walk you through that.
Yeah.
After you meet collectively, do you still break up into small groups?
Yes.
Gender-specific?
Gender-specific groups, and for the obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's powerful. That's where the real healing begins, because in the open share groups of people that have got not identical problems as yours, but similar issues or similar problems, and you can just get real and not feel like you're being judged, or it's just great.
And do you break into even specific areas of struggles in those groups?
Yes, sexual integrity, or most of us pornography, but we call it sexual integrity, is probably the largest group for the men's. They've got addictions, which is alcohol, drugs, smoking, anything. Could be gambling, but it's primarily alcohol and drugs. And the women typically have, then we have general issues, the anger, anxiety, depression, self-hate, those kind of things. And but they're just powerful sessions, really.
And God's led you to want to take that restoration to young people. Can you tell us what you're doing now?
Yeah. With my thanks, Mitch. With my background of abandonment, desertion, and rejection, and all that as a teenager, and the hurt that I experienced, I've been in what I call my teenage ministry for the last 4 years, and then every Friday I go and work with incarcerated teenage boys that they're not locked into cells, but they're in a lockdown facility, and go up and just try to give them some encouragement and show them the love of Jesus and everything. And every one of them up there has the common denominator with them is that they have no positive male role model in their life. And one of the young boys, I think he was 10 years old, he told me he'd been in 12 placements. And I said, well, what's a placement? And he said, well, it's a foster home or relatives or something. And this is a young kid, it's like a merry-go-round or like a revolving door. They never get out of it. I thought there's no stability for these kids. But, as well as I do, the family impacts out there now that, the problems we've got out in society, I think, come back to the parenting and the split families.
Duane, I think that's incredible. I love how God took the hurt in your heart as a kid and he brought a restoration to it in Christ, in your adult complete valley, and now uses you to bring his restoration to others, including me. And I just want to thank you for it.
Oh, you're welcome.
And God wants to use you to bring his restoration to others. That's what he's designed you for. And your work is a playground for that to happen. Your hobby, your home, whatever social group you're a part of, that's where God wants to use you. That's your unique watermark. So maybe today's the day you look into starting that nonprofit that he's laid on your heart. Maybe today's the day you enter that church you've been driving by and thinking about. Maybe today's the day you get involved with the ministry that God's laid on your heart. Think about whatever hurt, habit, or hang-up you have right now, or that God's brought you through. That's exactly who he wants you to help. So pursue him. All this week, just continue to pursue him and say, hey, God, what do you want me to do? Hey, God, what do you want me to do? Hey, God, what do you want me to do? And he will reveal himself through the Word of God, the people of God, and the Spirit of God to move you in the direction of a restoration ministry that he has for you.
Hi, I'm Olga. Next week, join Mitch and I on a restoration road.